What if we told you that one of the most beloved on-screen couples just had a quiet, real-life reunion? Far away from the cameras, the red carpets, and the screaming fans. A sucré café corner. 2 cups of coffee. And a moment so pure, it melted millions of hearts within hours. Yes, Zi and Li Xian were spotted together again. And what happened next is touching fans around the world. Let's dive into the tender moment that's redefining what true friendship looks like in the whirlwind world of fame. It was late afternoon when the golden light in Shanghai tilts just enough to soften the edges of every building, and an old plane tree cast its mottled shadows across the narrow lane that shelters Plum and Stone Café. From the pavement, little suggests it is anything but another artisan spot. A single brass bell above the door, shelves of climbing jasmine, the lazy hum of a hand-pulled espresso machine. Yet on that quiet Saturday, it became an unlikely stage for a reunion that would stop thousands of scrolling thumbs. Zi arrived first, the kind of arrival that makes no announcement, head slightly bowed, cardigan folded over one arm, polite smile for the barista as she ordered a cappuccino with oat milk. She chose the window table, the one that catches the late sun, and laid her phone face down as though signaling to herself that nothing outside this room needed her more than what was about to unfold inside. Minutes later Li Xian stepped in, moving with the relaxed confidence of a man accustomed to attention yet not in search of it. A breeze followed him, stirred the pages of a newspaper left on a chair, and for a moment the scent of roasted beans blended with the faint citrus of his cologne. Their eyes met before either spoke. It was not dramatic, more quiet verification that the person in front of them was still real, still present, still carrying the shared history of training rooms, late-night script readings and the secret jokes formed on set years before. He tipped his cap, she laughed under her breath, and suddenly the room felt smaller, as though the café itself had leaned in to listen. They talked, no one can say exactly about what, leaning across the small wooden table, hands occasionally brushing the rim of the same porcelain saucer as they sampled a slice of yuzu cheesecake the owner had recommended. At times they grew animated, Zi tracing shapes in the air with a teaspoon while Li Xian nodded, eyes warm with unguarded amusement. Later their voices softened, slipping into the low register people use when they recount the chapters of life that changed them without warning. Outside the window the city's rhythm continued, the distant drone of scooters, the echo of children's laughter. But inside, time seemed to widen, giving them the luxury to remember who they were before award shows, before billboard campaigns, before millions of strangers felt entitled to their private moments. Across the room a university student recognized them, lifted her phone, then hesitated. Something in the actors' gentle focus on each other made the student lower the device again. When she finally did snap a picture, silent shutter, no flash, it was from a respectful distance, framing the pair in afternoon light that looked less like celebrity aura and more like honest radiance. That single image, posted with a modest caption, would ignite a global wave of admiration. Yet the truest record of the meeting would always remain unposted, the hush that fell each time their shared laughter ebbed, the words spoken so quietly that only the steam from the coffee machine bore witness, and the comfortable silence that said everything about a friendship still intact, still growing, still able to find in a crowded city, one table where nothing needed to be performed. Long before the café photo drew headlines, fans nursed a conviction that the connection between Zi and Li Xian ran deeper than any scripted romance. It began in 2019, when viewers saw their eyes linger after the director called cut and heard laughter too unguarded for rehearsal. Comment threads repeated one thought. There is something protective in the way he angles his shoulder towards her, something tender in her grin when he forgets a line and they break into laughter. They could feel the thread each time he opened a door so she could pass first, or when she adjusted her pace to match his stride during press tours. Moments unnoticed by casual viewers but catalogued with reverence by the attentive. Evidence accumulated like postcards in a shoebox. His steadying hand when her gown snagged on a red carpet step, her voice bright with pride as she introduced a trailer that was not her own, their good luck messages posted at dawn on each other's premiere days. These gestures were small, yet they filled the unglamorous spaces where real affection lives. The fandom learned to cherish subtlety, to read meaning in a glance captured by a backstage camera and dismissed by the news cycle an hour later. What captivates audiences is not the frequency of such moments, but the harmony beneath them. In joint interviews their rhythms align, Zi ends a sentence with an upward lilt, and Li Xian picks up the thread without pause, as though they share an inner metronome. One senses a conversation running beneath the public one, a current that endures edits, press junkets and time zones, proof that their friendship rests on instinct rather than orchestration. Perhaps what resonates is how each allows the other to evolve. Fans watched Zi grow from ingenue to producer and noted Li Xian praising her fearless intuition, during a livestream no one expected him to join. When he later pivoted to darker, riskier roles, she surfaced under the first teaser with a flame emoji that said more than any press release. In an industry where loyalty is often negotiated in contracts, their endorsement of each other's choices feels radical. Across continents, the response is identical. A student in Seoul writes that their bond makes her believe kindred spirits exist. A father in Toronto hopes his son will meet a friend who looks at him that way. A retiree in Jakarta replays their variety show banter when the news feels too heavy. Strangers recognize in this duo their own longing for steadfastness, taking comfort in seeing it flourish beneath the white noise of fame. So when the Café image surfaced, it did not spark a new tale. It confirmed one the audience had already authored. Two friends, heads inclined over coffee and sunlight, offered a tableau enough to carry weight. In that hushed frame, fans found vindication for years of intuition, and a quiet reminder to protect the ordinary rituals by which human connection survives. The magic that binds Zi and Li Xian refuses to be pinned solely on the sparks audiences witnessed in Go Go Squid. It lives in the quieter realm between action and cut, in the pauses that never make an episode's final edit. During filming, they built a private vocabulary of resilience. Long after the clapperboard snapped, they lingered on set, trading notes over cooling cups of chrysanthemum tea while crew members wrapped cables. They studied each other's habits, how Zi chewed the inside of her cheek before a high-stakes scene, how Li Xian loosened his shoulders with a silent count of 3, so each could step in when the other wavered. It was not romance they rehearsed but a choreography of trust. She learned when his silence meant he was recalibrating. He learned when her jokes masked a spike of nerves. That intimate literacy allowed their characters to breathe with the unforced rhythm of real life, yet its true impact surfaced only off-camera. When award season arrived and separate obligations pulled them into different cities, the rapport persisted like a secret frequency. Zi, receiving a late-night script in Seoul, forwarded it to Li Xian because the story's moral dilemma reminded her of a conversation they once had about purpose. Li Xian, finishing a dawn workout in Beijing, sent her a voice memo, 5 seconds of rain hitting his window, because he knew she writes best to that sound. These exchanges were never meant for the public, yet they sculpted the confidence visible in their individual performances. Each, in effect, became the other's off-screen scene partner, a sounding board immune to industry vanity, quick to celebrate growth yet quicker to call out complacency. Their insight into one another also reshapes how they navigate fame's glare. At press events, Zi answers questions about Li Xian's craft with the precision of someone who has watched him dismantle and rebuild a character from the inside out. Journalists interpret her praise as politeness. Seasoned fans recognize it as the rare critique that lands only after prolonged observation. Conversely, Li Xian deflects idle gossip about Zi's personal life by referencing her capacity for strategic empathy, an attribute too nuanced for tabloids, yet obvious to anyone who has watched her negotiate late-night script rewrites so a supporting actor can shine. Together they model a form of advocacy that transcends the transactional alliances common in show business. It is mentorship unfolding in both directions, anchored by the belief that another person's triumph diminishes nothing of your own. Perhaps the clearest measure of their bond's depth is the way it expands beyond the two of them. Crew members speak of a set culture forever altered by their quiet generosity. Zi arranging extra steamed buns for lighting technicians working overtime, Li Xian scheduling rehearsals around a sound engineer's exam. This ripple effect underscores the insight at the core of their friendship, that shared success gains longevity only when it is spread wide enough to lift others. Their chemistry, then, is not a fireworks display designed for fleeting awe. It is a slow-burn lantern that lights corridors many will walk long after the audience files out, reminding everyone watching that authentic connection is, at its heart, an act of service. Sources close to both actors hint that this may not be the only reunion. While there's no official confirmation yet, whispers of a joint charity project have surfaced, one that focuses on mental health awareness for young creatives in Asia. Imagine Zi and Li Xian combining their influence not just to act, but to uplift lives. Wouldn't that be the perfect evolution of their on-screen legacy? In every country, from Seoul to Singapore, Paris to Manila, New York to Tokyo, the longing for real human connection is universal. And this story, in its simplicity, reminds us that fame doesn't have to harden hearts. It shows us that kindness, respect, and consistency are still the cornerstones of meaningful relationships, whether you're a global celebrity or someone quietly watching from afar. This wasn't just coffee. This was a moment of hope.
If this story touche du à muche et touche du S, elle peut spread the light.
Speech Balloon, tell us in the comments, what's your favorite moment between Zi and Li Xian, on screen or off? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to never miss a moment from news star Xian. Your home for the most heartfelt, inspiring stories in Chinese entertainment and beyond. Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes, the smallest moments reveal the biggest truths. Cherry Blossom, until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and stay inspired.